Isn't it time you had a branded podcast for your business? As an example, ProDrive's Drive to Survive is a limited series of 6 episodes. One features supercar driver Todd Hazelwood.
Want to test your skills and test your knowledge, do it in a safe environment and come out to a racetrack. There's plenty of programs and training tools that you can use in today's society where you can do it in a safe environment.
Book your lesson online now at prodrivedrivingschool.com.au. Ipswich Today now offers branded podcast production. For more info, email podcast@ipswichtoday.com.au and check out Drive to Survive on iHeartRadio. Coming up, an innovative solution to help homeless sleep safe in Ipswich. Council finally settles on the new name for Pisasale Drive at Yamanto. New cinemas delayed by black mould and a costly contract variation. And changes coming to 28 suburbs for wheelie bin collections next month. It's Monday, May 22, 2023, and I'm Alan Roebuck. Welcome to Ipswich Today, which acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land on which it is produced and pays respects to elders past, present and emerging. This podcast is supported by Kinetics, people-powered web hosting trusted by Australian businesses since 1999. Beddown is a very clever idea to help the homeless find a safe place to sleep at night, secure and out of the weather. It started with taking over unused underground or multi-level car parks after hours and converting that space into pop-up accommodation. Norm McGillivray is the founder of Beddown. Thanks for speaking with Ipswich Today, Norm.
Thanks for the invite and the offer, Alan. Really appreciate it.
That idea of turning unused car parks into homeless shelters back in 2019, it was a stroke of genius. How did the Beddown story begin?
Yeah, well, thanks for your kind words there, Alan. I guess just to set the tone and set the context of why Beddown exists, and you probably gather, and your listeners will probably gather from my accent, not a local boy to Australia, so originally from the UK, a place called Coventry in central England. I'll have to take your listeners back in time to my early childhood, back in the UK, Coventry in the early 70s. My mum and dad were happily married. My dad had a business, a shop fitting business. He was a carpenter by trade. In his early 30s, he suffered a stroke. That left him quite heavily disabled. It paralysed his right-hand side. His face dropped. That impeded his speech. That was pretty much the end of the business overnight. My mum was a bit younger than my father at the time, and she was bringing up a very small child, which was myself. Now, with my dad being heavily disabled, that put a lot of stress and strain on the relationship. They separated and got divorced, and my dad found himself homeless, sleeping rough on the streets of London. To cut a long story short there for your listeners, at the age of 42, he suffered a heart attack and he died lonely and homeless on the streets of London. I was 11 years old at the time and helpless and powerless to do anything about it. I never had the opportunity to say goodbye or I love you. That was it. He was gone. I think the idea and Beddown started as an 11-year-old child. I just didn't realise the jigsaw pieces would fall into place 40 years into the future. So, yeah, that's where it started.
So you basically started spreading that idea, obviously prior to 2019, to get it up and running. Who were the early support partners you worked with then?
Yeah, so I guess when it sort of started in earnest was I used to work at a not-for-profit in a different sector, and I was made redundant in August of 2018. And the first thing you do, of course, when you're made redundant is apply for lots of jobs, which I did. I started getting some dear norms coming back to me, and some people didn't come back to me at all. So I started thinking, maybe it's time for me to start my own not-for-profit charitable organisation. Homelessness was obviously close to my heart with my dad. And when I was doing the research at the time, and I saw how many people were sleeping rough across Australia every night, and actually, even further, what really got me on the hook was that of those thousands of people that sleep rough every night, there's hundreds of people lose their life every year as a result of sleeping rough, from everything from being attacked, suicides, overdoses, infected wounds, and pneumonia. And that leading to the average life expectancy of just 47 years of age, as we're talking here today on this podcast, of someone who's homeless, sleeping rough in Australia 2023. This was unacceptable to me, and I need to do something about it.
Yeah.
So that's where it started in earnest. And the first space, as you've alluded to, was car parks, and that's where we started investigating and researching that. And I got one of the major car park operators to collaborate with us in 2018 and 2019 to prove out the model and the concept.
I do remember the coverage at the time. That was 4 years ago. You've been monitoring the housing crisis very closely since then. How would you describe it? What's happened over the last 4 years?
Well, I think when you factor in things like a global pandemic and then interstate movement from people coming to Queensland as a result of the pandemic, ironically, and Queensland came out of that very well. And now from there, we've got the rental and housing crisis, and more people have become homeless. So we've almost got a homelessness pandemic around the country, which is its own disaster. So now here in Ipswich, we're trying to bring some of the bed down elements and the model here to Ipswich CBD for our first female-only venue.
So you've taken the car park idea, you've moved on from that and expanded to other unused spaces, and you're working within Community Inc. in Limestone Street. So what is planned there?
Yeah, so for people that know Ipswich very, very well, In Community are an amazing organisation, and we're now part of the In Community organisation. We joined them sort of nearly 12 months ago now, and where they're based at 59 Limestone Street, people might know that building as an old restaurant in its day, and the offices are on the upper level, and there's part of what was the old restaurant out the back. That's about 140 square metres of underutilised wasted space, which we're going to repurpose, and that will become our first female-only venue.
Would you consider other unused spaces in Ipswich?
Yeah, look, Alan, I mean, that's going to be our first female-only site, and there's a lot of fellas out there doing it really tough as well, and there's Ipswich. It's very frustrating for me because activating underutilised and empty vacant space is our thing, and there's so much around Ipswich, it's not funny, in various shapes and formats. So we'd love to do another site here for the fellas as well.
Norm, you've had some buy-in from Ipswich City Council supporting you along the way. To what extent has Council supported you?
Yeah, look, Council have been absolutely amazing. Actually, Councillor Andrew Fechner, who's the local member around here, has become a great advocate of ours, and he volunteers in his spare time for the Beddown Breakfast Club, which runs 3 days a week currently for those that are sleeping rough. He's been advocating for us within Council, and he's been pushing our planning application through the process there. And Ipswich City Council have been incredible. They've waived the fee for the planning lodgement. Unfortunately, there's a lot of red tape and bureaucracy in the sort of stuff that we do, but Council have been fantastic so far. Awesome.
You've mentioned the average life expectancy of someone living rough is only 47, and you've launched another project called Change 47. What's that all about?
Yeah, so it links nicely into the fundraiser, and it's our first mega fundraiser, to be perfectly honest, Alan, to try and bring Bed Down to more locations across Queensland, because there's a lot of Queenslanders doing it tough, and Queensland, especially when compared to the rest of the country, has seen the biggest rise in homelessness of 22% compared to 8% in other states and territories. So we want to bring Bed Down to more people. Average life expectancy, as we know, 47. Change 47 started this week on the 15th of May and runs to the end of June, 47 days. We're encouraging people to come to the website, donate $47, give $47, plus get involved in some other fundraising activities. It is our most ambitious campaign to date, $4.7 million we want to raise, and that will allow us, including Ipswich, to activate 6 sites across Queensland. Have you earmarked those 6 sites yet? Yeah, look, for me, and what we're trying to make it quite interactive for people coming so they can say where they want us to come to. But if you look at it from a high level, Gold Coast, Brisbane, Ipswich, Central Queensland, Sunshine Coast, far North Queensland, obviously then out west to Toowoomba and such are areas of opportunity, I think, that we can bring Bed Down to. And ultimately, we want to change that 47 because Bed Down in its absolute is about changing people's lives and saving people's lives, which all starts with a safe place to get a good night's sleep. I'll make sure there's a link in the show notes to the Change 47 website, Norm. So that's how people can help. But what about businesses? What else can they do to support you? Yeah, we want corporates to jump on board as well and get part of the Change 47 fundraiser. They can come in and set up their own page on the fundraising platform and bring Change 47 into their staff meetings. They're already their existing events to raise awareness and funding for our campaign, or just come to the website and support us directly as well. Norm McGillivray, founder of Beddown, thank you so much for speaking with Ipswich Today. Alan, my pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
And in other local news, Curial Drive is the new name for Pisasale Drive. A decision was made by Council in July 2022 to rename the street with a name from traditional owners. Curial, from Yagara language, translates to golden-bellied watermouse, a native aquatic mammal endemic to Ipswich's waterways. In another controversial decision, a special meeting of Ipswich City Council approved a significant contract variation to the current rebuild of the former McDonald and East building on the corner of Brisbane and Ellenborough Streets. This is now known as the Venue Building. In a statement, Council said it approved a $15 million variation after careful consideration of the options available and respective risks. Significant black mould has been found in the old cinemas during the demolition, and a collapsed sewer was also discovered. In another statement issued last week, Ipswich City Council said it will continue to represent the interests of the community. This is despite the Supreme Court of Queensland dismissing calls for a review into the Queensland Government's decision to call in the Wanless Recycling Park Proprietary Limited development application. In September 2021, Council rejected part of the Wanless application for a new landfill at Ebenezer, while supporting a proposed transfer and resource recovery facility. The Supreme Court's ruling was in response to an application seeking a statutory order for a review of the Deputy Premier's decision to call in this application in February 2022. Council said the court's decision was extremely disappointing and now clears the way for the Queensland Government to assess the application and potentially approve another landfill for Ipswich. And finally, wheelie bin collection days are changing for 28 suburbs across the city. Council said the changes are necessary to spread collection routes more evenly as population increases affect the ability of drivers to complete their current runs. On average, 135 new wheelie bins are added every week, with up to 30,000 bins emptied every day. To cater for this growth, Council ordered 28 new collection trucks, 21 have been delivered, and staff numbers increased. And that's it for this episode. Don't forget to look for handy links in the show notes. Ipswich Today is supported by Kinetics, people-powered web hosting trusted by Australian businesses since 1999. This podcast is also listener-supported. Please make a once-only gift or regular donation to help keep it online. Just go to ipswichtoday.com.au and click the donate button on the homepage to make a payment through PayPal. Follow and stream this podcast from your favourite app, including iHeartRadio and Amazon Music, or play Ipswich Today on smart speakers. Music is supplied by Purple Planet Music. This is Alan Roebuck. Thank you for listening. Ipswich Today can now place your business name right here. It's a new service now available. For more information, contact the show via the website ipswichtoday.com.au.